Welcome to a new episode of AI with Alaa. And today, my guest is Jeremiah O'Brien. Welcome, Jeremiah.
Thanks for having me.
So, we first met when you coached me for my TED Talk last year.
Yeah.
Jeremiah is a friend. He is a university professor. He is a speaker himself, but also a speaker coach. And he's an author and an avid learner. But I think I won't do him justice, so I will let you introduce yourself, Jeremiah.
Oh, thank you, Allah. Thank you for the kind words. Been a professor at university level in the United States for nearly 20 years now. I am an avid learner. I think learning is the key to anything, whatever it is that you want to do. And I think finding the right system for you, the right tools for you, that's one of my, I would say, great passions, great endeavors in my life. Also a businessman. I have two companies, Emerge Global and Emerge Ventures, and I work in the United States and here in the GCC, primarily in the UAE, but expanding. We were talking about this earlier, reading a couple books a week, at least have to. Yeah, it's the gym for your mind. We can talk more about how to release your genetic potential, which is to say physically, psychologically is no different than releasing your physical, like muscular genetic potential. So yeah, I'm avid about all of that.
I want to talk about
please.
each one of these in
Please.
details.
Yeah.
But first of all, tell us a little bit, what does Emerge Global do? And then we're gonna jump to talk about learning and meta learning and rapid learning.
Sure. Emerge Global, we have three offers. It really is to elevate the individual to an elite expert level. So global thought leadership, which is how we were introduced, working with speakers, keynote speakers, thought leaders, experts in their respective fields, executives, world leaders, to help them ideate, write, and then help deliver their talks on global stages like TEDx or Davos or internal corporate, or what we're doing right now for podcasts. So that's one, and then the other is fractional operators, bringing executives from Silicon Valley in New York City to wherever they're needed in the U.S. Or around the world. Primarily, we're looking in the GCC to place them, and so that's another one to help scale, grow, accelerate, and transform, let's say, enterprise, family office, and projects. And then we also do fundraising.
I'm very happy to hear someone who is, from California, from the capital of venture capital, the capital of startups, the capital of growth in the world, choosing to come here to the UAE to chase growth and to contribute to the growth of our startup ecosystem, our economy, our corporate, especially now at the AI age. Why did you decide that UAE is the place to be?
I mean, I think it's self-evident, it is. I think we've talked about this in the past as well. There's two Silicon Valleys here and Silicon Valley. Yeah, these are the epicenters, the hubs of real growth. And when we talk about growth, we're talking about, I would say, on all levels of measurement, all metrics, right? We're talking about growth in business, growth in human potential, we're talking about AI. But this is where like real innovation is happening. Yeah, you can see it. There's a buzz as well. And I was brought out initially for a TED Talk, and continue to come out for the different TED Talks in the UAE. But that being said, as you do when you're in a place where there's innovation and you can contribute other resources, then you do.
Yeah. And even though you've only been here for a year or maybe less, you're already meeting with business leaders, you're meeting with government leaders, you're meeting with founders and entrepreneurs, and you started to have your finger on the pulse. What do you think we're missing to actually become the Silicon Valley? I mean, I have my own answers for this question, but I want to hear yours.
Gosh, well, it's never usually one thing.
Hmm.
Yeah. So I would say one of the primary things we were just talking about learning. I think people need to really embrace right now because of AI that there is a vertical learning curve. And so
Yes.
how do you differentiate? How do you differentiate in the region, but how do you differentiate from the person across from you that says that they do the same thing? And I would say, to borrow from Charlie Munger, Warren Buffett, you need to become a learning machine. You need to be pushing your genetic potential every single day. Do not go to sleep without having learned something. I read 2 books a week. That's
Me.
my diet. Like you have your physical diet to make more muscles or to get leaner or whatever. You need to have your brain diet as well to push it like a gym, but also get enough sleep. All of these things. I think that having that makes you truly formidable and differentiated in the market. So I would say that's one. And then two, I think you need to bring in. So let's talk about the law of constraints. Law of constraints that again, Warren Buffett, Charlie Munger would talk a lot about for value investing. I think everybody should embrace a value investing mindset, whether they want to grow their business to sell or they want to grow their business to keep, and at any level, SMB to enterprise or family office or whatever it is. I would say approach it with this mindset because you're going to hit these constraints. And how do I take it from 1 million to 10 million to 10 million to 100 million to 100 million to 1 billion? And so I think with that, you need to bring in new, let's say, new and more talent. And I would say find that from the world, which is what we want to contribute into the region.
Absolutely.
So like Sherpas who take you up the mountain, Mount
Yeah.
Everest, that have been up and down a bunch of times. Go with that person, bring those people in, and then create a bridge of the exact talent that you need. You may be able to find it here, but if you implement the, let's say, training programs, then you can bring them up while also piping people in through a
I
bridge.
love the
Yeah.
Sherpa analogy.
Yeah.
And when you were saying that learning and like having a learning diet makes you more formidable, I remember really when we first started listening to you coaching us on the TED Talk before the TED Talk last year, that you kept sharing with us some interesting quotes from all of these books, and they were so well placed during the conversation, helping you make your argument, helping you illustrate your ideas. So I'm saying this because you're not just a great learner. You're not only reading 2 books a week to check a box. You're great at retaining and recalling information on spot. How do you acquire the skill? I know that you teach people how to learn and how to record and how to apply. So let's talk about that.
Well, I think I would say that the simplest answer is it's a muscle. It's probably a cliche response. Yeah, but if you're not getting better, you're getting worse. If you don't use it, you lose it. Yeah, you get stronger with practice. And that's a discipline. Yeah, you have to force yourself to repeat the process of repetition or let's say drilling to the point of boredom and beyond. When you think of like the greatest athletes, let's say, like a Michael Jordan or whomever you want to, insert for a greatest athletes. Countless, like thousands and thousands and thousands of hours. Yeah. Now you don't have to do thousands of hours to get to proficiency. To mastery, you do. But I would say you get to proficiency, drill to the point of proficiency, and then just continue that, make it a habit. And James Clear writes a lot about that in Atomic Habits. Charles Duhigg writes a lot about that in The Power of Habit. So I would say make things that are really like anchors in your life that you're going to need, like to recall, to retain. Make these anchors that you're doing them every day. Kind of like if you go for a walk every day, if you go to the gym every day, if gosh, I don't know, if you have your protein drinks every day, it's a part of your lifestyle. It's a part of who you are. And so I think genetics are part of it. Like I do, I can remember certain things.
Yeah.
Don't ask me to remember a birthday; I'll forget it. So I put it in the calendar. I know that's not
You're
romantic.
you're gonna be in trouble with women.
So I put it in the calendar, and that's how I remember that. But with text and language, especially stories or meetings, I almost have like a photographic memory.
Amazing.
But I've cultivated that over time, and you know. you know when you love it, when you recall it in a conversation. You're like,
Yes.
oh, Dickens said, or Shakespeare said, or Nietzsche said, and I found that, oh wow, I can also in my mind's eye, because the brain thinks in images.
Yes.
Yeah, I can see the page number at the bottom, oh, and I can see the chunk of text right here. But I think that happens as a natural process of pushing. You just push your
I mean, can
limits.
you train that? I mean,
Yeah.
right there, you mentioned two names of two books with two authors, and you quoted them effortlessly and naturally. So for our audience who are watching this, can you train to start being that good at recalling names and passages and
Yeah.
books and concepts?
100%.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's not all genetics. Yeah, you can actually train.
But the genetics are there, I think, in all of us. And you train to release the genetic potential. You put pressure, like you go to the gym, you put weights or yoga, Pilates, whatever it is you do, there's some kind of a resistance. Even if you're going for a walk, that's light resistance. But still, you're putting your genetics under some kind of pressure. The more pressure you put it under, it releases it. And so if you do read a book a week or a book a month or whatever it is that's pushing your limit, that will happen. Yeah, but if you do it with an intended goal in mind, then it's going to happen quicker. And I think
Yeah.
that goal setting, most people miss goal setting. They're just
Yeah.
like, oh, yeah, I'm going to read a book. Yeah, what's the goal for this book?
Yeah.
Yeah, what's the goal for this conversation?
Yes.
What's the goal for this meeting? Salespeople, it's not just going in and just having like a nice conversation. Have that. Yeah, but what's the goal? You need to find out what the need is and then get out of the way. Let them talk.
Absolutely.
You know?
Listen, I'm happy and I'm lucky that many conversations I have, like the conversation I have with you every time we meet over coffee, is I just enjoy it. I don't have an objective for our conversations, but I understand what you're saying. Outside the friendship and when you go to a business context, when you go to a career context, when you go to a self-development context, you have to have an objective from your learning. But you have to enjoy it as well, right?
It can be both. I don't think they're mutually exclusive.
Yes.
But I personally, I set goals for pretty much every meeting I go to. Even if the goal is like we met and we talked for hours or whatever. Maybe I don't know what the business goal is if we even have a business goal. But I do know that I'm gonna go and I'm gonna talk with Alaa. And then you know what? There's this one thing I want to ask him about the AI thing that I have a question about this week. And so maybe that, or you know what? I want to check and see how his family is doing. That's a goal too. Like I think it doesn't always have to be like pushing business progress forward per se, but I think like your GPS, if you don't have a destination, how will you ever arrive?
Yeah.
And so definitely for learning, you must have goals.
Yeah.
And in teaching, we call them SLOs in the US, student learning outcomes. So you have a goal, you have a syllabus. Here's the objective. Here's what we're trying to achieve. And I think you can have personal goals, relationship goals, business goals, financial goals. OKRs, measure what matters. John Dewar. He's got OKRs. These are amazing. Yeah, for I think personal and professional.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And you've built a framework for learning.
Yes.
You called it rapid learning. You called it meta learning, learning how to learn.
Yeah.
Tell us about your framework.
Well, we addressed let me back up. I saw this trend at university. Undergraduates, graduates alike were having this problem. They would go through 4 years of school. I would get them at the last semester, last class, last semester, and they had theoretical knowledge. It wasn't practical. They couldn't apply it. And maybe some of them, the graduate students mixed with the undergraduates, they have jobs, and they're like, Jeremiah, my boss is mad at me, this is that, or I'm trying to get a job. Can you help me with my LinkedIn? So there were these, what I would call practical problems. How do I address these practical problems? I'm like, okay, well, what's your majors? What do you all do? What are you learning? What are you trying to accomplish? So now we're getting into goals. But do you have the skills to accomplish this goal? So now I'm trying to find fit, And so ultimately I created a framework that addressed the top 3 meta skills. Meta means it ties into everything. So learning how to learn is a meta skill. Self-guided, self-paced learning. Then public speaking is a meta skill. No matter what you do, what your career is, what your profession, lawyer, doctor, entrepreneur, of course.
You need to communicate.
You need to communicate.
Yeah.
But communication is not just saying words. I think it was Gosh, who said this? It'll come to me, but the burden of communication is on the communicator.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. It's up to me to do the heavy lifting, to distill, make the complex simple, and then, and not simple in a pedantic way, but simple in a way that both a 12-year-old and a PhD could understand it like that,
Absolutely.
and get it. And that's the kind of the essence of a TED Talk, right?
So
Is that-
you mentioned three. You said
Two.
meta learning,
Yeah.
2 out of 3. So meta learning,
Yeah.
speaking,
and productivity.
and productivity.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell
So
us about
my
this.
example with productivity is, let's say, project managers.
Yeah.
Everybody says they're a project manager, and I find that they're not. But there's also a certain type of project management called Scrum. If anybody's worked in any kind of like
Agile,
tech,
yeah.
Agile, exactly. Scrum. J.J. Sutherland wrote a book on it, doing twice the work in half the time. That's the project management that I would teach and that I would train, not kind of the old school project management PMP. Though it's okay. I'm not saying anything negative about it. I would say Scrum is superior because it's iterative, and especially in the age of AI, you need something that's going to get you to 2 weeks, not like 2 years, because you don't know what's going to happen in 2 years. And then now with all the AI tools, you could just stack, and this is again borrowing from James Clear, you could stack all of these things, all of these meta skills, but especially productivity with all of these tools for productivity. You could turn one person into an army of 10,000 X productivity. It's
I love it.
working 24/7. And so we elevate these from learning how to learn to rapid learning, rapid skill acquisition, from public speaking to influence and persuasion, from productivity to like next level AI productivity. And this is where our conversations come in handy all the time.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I was thinking, I mean, you came to mind last week when I was reading about the concept of second brain.
Oh, yeah.
This concept now is big in Silicon Valley circles. Everyone who's in tech is now interested in second brain. And the idea of second brain for our audience is there are companies like Obsidian that allowing you to create a personal knowledge base, a personal knowledge graph, and link everything you're reading, everything you're learning, everything you're interested in, whether there are books or blogs or videos or seminars or webinars or Coursera courses, and link them together. And then came Andre Karpathy, our teacher, and he came up with the concept of the LLM wiki. He said, take all these blogs and books and that you're interested in, your personal knowledge, and then build a wiki on top of it that is built and curated and managed by LLMs. Let the LLM create a topic from all of these, like Wikipedia pages, and link them and keep maintaining them and manage them. So with time, your knowledge base is growing, but more importantly, it's all interconnected because it's like your own Wikipedia.
Yeah.
And I find that fascinating.
So fascinating. What was the tool that you had said that was great for the second brain, by the way?
Obsidian.
Obsidian.
Obsidian is today.
That's a company, but is
Yeah.
that also the second brain tool?
Oh, you good. I forgot. So Obsidian, I think, is the name of the company. Yes, I forgot
okay.
the name of
No
the
worries.
tool.
No worries. Second brain, it addresses the. So going back to value investing, there are 5 major constraints. The number one constraint that you always find is key man risk. It's the number one. It's like a founder, right? Like they're playing 18 roles. They're like the octopus that's trying to do everything. But wouldn't we be more productive if we had a second brain? If people could access, if there were 2 of us, so that way the team members that we do have could go and ask this while we're trying to do business development, And so this is why second brain is just, how do I say, it's more ubiquitous now. But Charlie Munger, Warren Buffett, Alex and Layla Hormozi, for example, they're huge advocates for years and years and years on basically trying to duplicate your knowledge, how to do that. But also, and this is, I think, for the business owner, it's easier to do a knowledge transfer. When you have a second brain of everybody on your team, you're like, okay, now we can train, or now I can elevate you up, and you can look at my second brain and you can ask my second brain questions, integrate those brains together, and then we'll bring someone up behind you to take this role, and then they'll look at your second brain. So this transfer of knowledge is key.
Yes.
It's key.
You're a big proponent and advocate for transfer of knowledge.
Have
And you
to.
call it closing the loop.
Yes.
You can, once you actually learn how to learn and acquire new learning, you have to close the loop by passing it forward.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sharing is always the final step in everything. You look at story, any story structure, but it's the hero. If we use Joseph Campbell's hero's journey, the hero goes on this journey, learns all these things on their journey, fights all the battles, comes back as the master of two worlds, and they share what they've learned with their community. They share their wealth. They share the secret, magical ingredient, the Lord of the Rings, the Hobbit, all the Matrix, whatever, the Avengers. But they go on these journeys and they come back and then they share what they've learned. With learning and then transfer of knowledge, it has to be shared. And this is the best way that we learn.
Yeah.
The best way is through learning from others.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Even when you're teaching others. So
Yeah.
I find your concept of a loop, I can relate to it.
Yeah.
Because I deliver a lot of training master classes, and I find myself pushed to learn more and more every time I have a master class to deliver. And I also find that when I'm trying to clarify an idea to my audience, something is clicking in my brain. Maybe new synapses are being created, maybe new interconnections are being created, because I'm forced to come up with new analogies, with new ways to explain that I myself understand the topic better. So teaching is learning.
Oh my gosh, it's the completion of the cycle. Absolutely. And you were saying that you have your team do this every week. Yeah, and I think that companies, if you want to grow, you have a learning organization at your core. You have people who are going to learn something, and then they're going to share that with the community. Yeah,
Yes.
you have to. That closes the loop, it locks it in. But also I would say, especially if you're in a really intense learning period, like I learned how to fly a helicopter,
Yeah.
and I was so exhausted after every lesson. I would sleep for 4 hours after each lesson, like an hour and a half lesson. And it's because your brain is pushing so hard. And if you look at babies learning how to walk and talk and read and all of these things, their brain is pushing so hard, and we kind of forget that and take it for granted as we become older. So get your sleep. If you're in a really intense learning period, you have to get your 8 hours, because that's when those synapses are actually connecting.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So let's touch a little bit more on that.
Sure.
You're not only an avid reader, you also take care of your own health.
Yeah.
You're very disciplined. You go to gym regularly. You eat right. Very few people I know have the discipline that you have. But it makes sense when you put them all together, because you're in a better physical state to learn, to grow, to advise. So tell us about the physical health part of your daily life and what you recommend to others as well.
Gosh, it's all connected, isn't it, Alaa? This is a human body. It is a unified instrument with trillions of systems that are working independently, interdependently. Without our permission, our heart beats and our lungs breathe. Yeah. And so I would say you have to facilitate that process. And if you want better performance, better psychological performance, better mental health performance, there's rafts of research on all of the different, benefits of,
Yes.
let's say physical exercise and good diet. But that produces an outcome and result on the quality of thinking. If someone is not getting enough sleep and they're trying to come in and produce a great product for either of our companies, they're not going to. There's a diminishing return. And I tell my students, for example, cramming for final exams or whatever, it's bullshit. It's BS.
Yes.
It doesn't work.
No.
It's that's not how the memory works. And if you, for example, use spaced repetition learning technique, that's going to help you retain the information, but it takes longer.
Yes.
You would have to start 3 weeks ago. You can't procrastinate. So if you put yourself on a proper rhythm and you're doing it every day, it's this consistency. Discipline is a word, yeah, but it is essentially, it's a habit. It's a system of habits, And so if let's say you take your life, you're like, these are all my bad habits. Okay, let's compare that to what James Clear would recommend in Atomic Habits. Replace all of those habits with good routines. Okay, well, if I want to perform better intellectually, well, then I need to get my body right. And this is not new news.
No.
Marcus Aurelius was writing about this thousands of years ago. It's in Meditations. Ryan Holiday unpacks a lot of this in his Stoic books. Gosh,
There's a roadmap, there's a
there's a
framework.
room.
It's a tried and true.
It is.
Yeah.
It's not, and it's been here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And back to your point about being physically healthy also lets you deliver intellectually better. I live this personally every day.
Yeah.
When I have a master class to deliver, I mean, it does take a toll on you speaking for 4 hours or 6 hours at a time sometime. And especially if you speak the way I speak, I deliver with passion, I would deliver with love, I deliver with energy.
Yeah.
So I have to be in a good physical state to do that. That's why I always make sure to sleep early the night before I have a master class. I make sure not to drink or not to smoke the night before I have to deliver, so that because I owe my customers to deliver with my full energy, with my full passion, with my full potential.
Now we're getting into something that's like, what is the why behind the habit, the routine, and the discipline? It's values and it's standards. You have a certain set of values. You have a really high standard. So do I. And so if you do this every day, that's just your life, you know? And you'll see this compounding effect like any investment. You have a compounding effect. It's flat, 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 flat. L curve, boom. Yeah, and if anybody is a teacher, let me say, anybody who is a good teacher, they give their all.
Yeah.
You should feel exhausted. Like a performance, like an actor who goes on a stage or goes on set. You should feel tired at the end of that workday. You should have earned that sleep.
Yes.
You should feel tired.
Absolutely.
But then you need your instrument to be in tip-top shape to do that. Yeah,
I
because
told
the
my
audience
friend,
deserves it.
yesterday when I finished 2 days ago when I finished
Yeah.
a master class in Johannesburg, I told him I feel happily depleted.
Happily depleted. Yeah, love what you do.
It's what you said. It's earning that sleep. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's Michelangelo. He talks about this. He's like, earn your day's sleep, like a good life lived. That on your death, that I earned this final sleep. Yeah, I think, not to make it like sad or depressing.
So
but,
I wanna go back and drill down into your rapid learning framework and learning how to learn framework.
Yeah.
You start your courses by addressing the gaps.
Yeah.
And you clearly diagnose them like an expert surgeon. And you say there's not only one gap. There's the learning gap, the execution gap, and then the communication and delivery gap.
Yeah.
Okay. And you should address all these three if you want to succeed. Talk to us about this.
Well, those are the gaps that need to be, let's say, filled, bridged, in order to access your highest potential for those respective meta skills. But yeah, let's start with diagnosing what the problem is first and quickly move into the solution. Now we have the solution, but everybody's a little bit different, and so I'll have them take a couple of assessments. Let's take Strength Finders, for example. Great assessment to see where you're at, what your skill level is, where your current skill level is related to the market, what the market needs. It'll give you like, okay, these are the jobs you could be right for, but also shows you where you're deficient. Now let's focus on where you're deficient at, because obviously you're already good at what you're good at, but we could put you on a program that's like an 80-20. Let's 80% focus on the deficiencies, 20% build up what you're already great at. Yeah. And so I think these misnomers of like, oh yeah, no, I know how to read. Do you know how to read? Because there's a book called How to Read a Book.
Yeah.
And I say it, sometimes I get a big laugh for it, because people in America are like, yeah, of course I know how to read. I'm like, oh, so you know the 4 types of reading. Yeah, elementary, analytical, syntopical, and did I say analytical? I don't
Yes.
know. Okay, analytical, inspectional.
Okay.
Inspection. Those are the 4 types of reading.
Tell me more about them. I don't know these 4.
So elementary reading is just, I would say, your standard reading of reading like an article. Yeah.
Okay.
The general population has a general understanding. It's basic comprehension. Inspectional reading is deliberate deliberate skimming, not just speed reading, but deliberate skimming. Like, okay, what does the title mean? Let me see how this is structured from the table of contents. Let me get a sense of what each section looks like. So it may take me a few hours to read it. So I'm reading first sentence of like maybe every chapter, maybe the last couple of sentences of the conclusion. So I'm getting a sense of this. And then analytical is I go through it I'm making notes, I'm highlighting, I'm making kind of connections within the book. Syntopical, which is why I read multiple books, but this is why professors, or at least professors used to, assign multiple books at once, just so that way you could cross-pollinate that knowledge. Syntopical is like the critical thinking
Yes.
of reading. So let's take 3 books. Charles Duhigg's The Power of Habit. Let's take James Clear's Atomic Habits, and let's take Papson and Keller's The One Thing. So now you're really going to remember that because you're associating it to those the other information that you're reading. But also, you're relating it to it and analyzing it and finding, and this is the way the brain works. It's through association, creating the new neural pathways. So so anyway, so when I see someone say,
I know how to read.
I know how to read a book. I'm like, okay, but let's approach it with what is the goal in mind right now, so that way we can fill these gaps quicker.
And do you is the goal here to take people from the standard way of reading to inspective, then analytical, and then syntopical? Is it the stairs that everybody should climb?
I don't look at
Or
them as
is it like different categories, and for each case we should choose the right one?
like
Which
tools.
is it?
Yeah,
Okay.
like tools. Like I used to be in the trades. I used to do all different kinds of trades. Let's say you have a tool bag.
Yeah.
You have different kinds of tools. You have the right tool for the right job. And I think people should look at we're just talking about reading, but any of these tools as a set of tools on a table or in a tool bag, and you pull out the right one when you need it. But having someone show you, okay, you use this tool for this purpose. I think that's the key, because a lot of people say, okay, these are the tools, but what do I do with them? Okay, what do I do with this hammer versus this type of hammer versus this other, wrench or this other kind of screwdriver? Like, what do I do? Like, how would I know to use syntopical versus analytical versus elementary versus inspectional? Well, here's how and why. And so I think that's the key. That helps you close the gap quicker, because you don't need to use analytical reading for everything. I think people say, oh, I'm a slow reader. I'm like, not necessarily. You might just be using analytical reading for everything that you do, and you don't need to. You may need to use inspectional reading when you get a daily brief. Just inspect it really quick, get the high points. Okay. And then you log that, and then when you need to go back to it and reference it later on in the day because someone needs more detail on this one point, okay, then you go back and you analytically read that one part.
Yes.
You don't need to read the whole thing analytically. Yeah.
And I always find that, first of all, I also read multiple books at the same time.
Yeah.
I enjoy reading a couple of chapters here, a couple of chapters there. I never finish a complete book before moving to the next one.
Oh, really?
So I also do that. I'm not as fast as you. You read 2 books a week. So tell me how you do that, and how can I learn to do that?
I honestly, I think faster speed. Let's say speed is relative. I make the time for it, number one, and I make it a very deliberate practice. So you could also say, oh, someone's stronger in the gym at this one thing. Well, okay, well, maybe they go to the gym every day, or maybe they do legs more than you do, or whatever it is. But everybody has genetic potential, and I think you put your genetics under pressure consistently, like going to the gym, because you're not going to how I say, so the body requires daily maintenance, on every possible, let's say, level of experience. Let's say you can't have breakfast on Monday and say, yeah, I'm good for the week. You can't say, I love you once a month and think that your relationships are going to be okay, and you can't go to the gym, oh, you know what, I'm not going to go to the gym every day this week, but I'm going to do 5 hours on Sunday. It's not going to have the same impact.
You have to pace it.
You have to pace it. You got to do an hour a day, or 45 minutes a day, or 30 minutes a day. So I would say for everybody, start with 10 minutes a day.
Yeah.
This is the compounding effect, and then increase to 30, and then increase to an hour. And then, and obviously we all have stuff to do. We have lives to live.
Yes.
Many people have families and kids and what have you. Jeremiah can't make that much time. You can make 10 minutes.
Yes.
You can go for your walk, listen to an audiobook, because audio is the same thing as I would say in terms of your brain, because there are the three modalities of
Yes.
learning: seeing, hearing, kinesthetic. Yeah, doing. And so I would say using one of those modalities of learning is better than using zero.
Yes.
Yeah. So go on your walk, listen to an audiobook. If you have the time to sit down, here's a hack for reading to do it quicker. So I would say visually read the book and listen to the book at the same time.
Wow.
And then your comprehension, so fast is comprehension, right? Because you might have to reread something if you didn't comprehend it. But if you listen to it, then you're getting the intended author's like intonation and meaning. And the meaning, let's say vocally, is going to help you a lot versus trying to guess, maybe visually reading it and hearing it in your head, especially if you speak multiple languages. You might be translating that. Oh, how did they intend that line? But if you listen to it and you read it, you'll I think the stats are 20% one modality, 80% retention, two
Wow.
modalities. Yeah,
Brilliant.
you get a huge jump. And then I would increase the speed every week. I would increase it from 1.0 to 1.2, 1.4.
The speed of the audio
of
talking?
the audio, yeah.
Oh, wow.
And it'll force your eyes.
Yes.
Yeah, it'll
to read
force
faster.
to read faster.
Wow. So step by step,
Step by step.
gradually going.
Yeah, like riding a
Brilliant.
bike with training
Yeah.
wheels, taking them off, or going to
I
the
do a
gym.
lot of reading of physical books, but I also like to listen to Audible when I'm driving.
Yeah.
But when you're driving, obviously you can't
Can
do
read,
these
yeah.
bi-modality or
Sure.
multi-modality.
Yeah,
So what you're saying is, no, if you're sitting at home, instead of just reading the physical book,
Listen,
pick up the Audible as well,
Yeah.
or the Kindle, or whatever you're using, and do the two modalities at the same time.
At the same time. But especially let's say you need to learn this, like you have to, like for your work, and like somebody's new book came out in the new literature, and then you can get both the audio book and then you have to do that. You have to, otherwise your retention is going to. That's why people have to review so much. But if you do both modalities at the same time, then you teach it to somebody, you will have closed that loop.
I love it. I love it. This is really, helpful knowledge. I also find from my own enjoyment in reading that I like to read something, like a chapter, and then I like to stop and think about what I read before going back into reading. And I also find out that sometimes you will read something and then you go to sleep, and you wake up the next day and you've absorbed it better and you've understood it better. Like the knowledge you acquired during the day somehow have seeped into deeper levels of your brain and created new connections, and now are part of your LLM parameters, if you want to say it.
Sure.
Yeah. Do you feel this as well? Like when you sleep, you absorb what you read during the day?
100%. That's how the learning process works neurologically. And don't take my word for it. All the research is out there, but that's how we have to learn. That's why cramming doesn't really work.
Cramming doesn't work.
But to your point, like we dream, we have dreams, or we have to take a step back and we really have to process like some writing is just so dense. Like Nietzsche writes in aphoristic writing, aphorisms. Aphorisms, I mean, the guy is a genius. Like one sentence is like the most dense cheesecake from New York that you're ever gonna eat. You can only take one bite and you're like, oh my God, I'm done, I'm full. But you have to, like, for every paragraph, you have to you read it, I gotta take a step back, I gotta go walk and digest this. Or Noam Chomsky wrote a book, Manufacturing Consent. It's so dense. It's a brilliant book, but it's so dense. And so or Meditations, Marcus Aurelius. This is thousands of years of philosophical wisdom. When he was writing it, he was coining it in the moment. And right now, we take it for granted. Oh yeah, I know what that means. No, we don't, until we put it into practice. And I think the fact that you step away and you're processing it is your evidence. I would say it's evidence, because I do the same thing, of your synthesis of application. Like, okay, how do I apply this now? I have to digest this and do something with it. Yeah, because if you just kind of, okay, that was lovely, and then you kind of keep going, it's not going to get applied. It's going to get lost in the kind of short-term memory.
Casual reading, without any objective.
Yeah.
They are trying to apply what you just described to how AI learns.
Okay.
So today, AI doesn't continuously learn. You take a model, you put it inside a data center with GPUs and a lot of data to learn, and it starts absorbing this information and rearranging its synapses, and this knowledge becomes part of the model's weights, parameters, right? And then you put it to work, and it stops learning something new. It starts only serving you and helping you. And if you want to teach it new knowledge, you have to send it back to school, to the data center to learn something new. So continuous learning hasn't been solved yet in AI. And some people, again, like Andrei Karpathy, is proposing something similar to what you're saying. How can we give AI model some light readings that later on seeps into or dissipates into lower levels of its neural network and absorbs this learning without us having to send it back to school. So that's where the state of the art is today.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
both. Yeah, it's fascinating, but also don't we have this with the skills? Like for example, Claude, you can create skills. Could that substitute as what we're talking about
It's
now?
a current, a short-term solution because we don't have continuous learning. So
I see.
skills is a trick that works with context to make AI look like it knows more.
Retained.
Yeah.
I
The
see.
information that AI is loading when it loads a skill file is the same that when it loads a system prompt in the settings of your ChatGPT. It's only taking this information into context as it's answering you. But does it now does it internalize this information not just for you but for everyone else in the world? No. When you give your AI a skill, it's only your instance on your app that has the skill. It's not all Claudes or all GPTs in the world that have these skills.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's a simulation of gaining new knowledge. Actually gaining new knowledge still requires sending the AI back to school every 6 months and spending $1 billion on having it ingest and internalize new data. And this is what's not solved yet.
Yet,
Yeah.
I wonder if they'll be able to solve it with AI.
Everybody is racing to solve it. And listen, we're going to talk a lot about AI and learning in the second half. But before we go to the second half, because we were talking about learning and reading and learning and reading. And I mentioned to you how much I enjoy thinking about what I learned. And you correctly identified that you need to take a walk, you need to ingest, you need to dissect some of the dense knowledge, and you get it better. I will also add, I enjoy reading a book much more when I have the chance to share what I learned later with people, whether it's a book club, whether it's a group of friends. So personally, I have a group of friends. I call them the nerds. Shout out to the nerds. I always thought that I'm a good reader until I met these three people. They're amazing. I mean, they read better than me. They read more than me. Every time I'm in their company, I learn more and more and more. And every time I read something, I itch to go to our gathering once a month, the Nerds Nights, and share what I learned with them, which makes the process of learning and reading more enjoyable for me. Well, what are your thoughts about that?
Yes, 100%. We're social by nature. We're social animals. We want to share. I mean, I'm trying to think. Look at everything that we do. It's in communion. It's in community. You know, we need to do this with one another. And this act of sharing is, I think it does a few things to us, emotionally, relationally, but also what you're talking about. I would say is sharing with people who are, let's say, better than you, you know, in a thing, you know, if they're stronger than you at the gym, or they read more than you, or I'm trying to learn languages, so they're fluent in this language and I'm trying to learn it. This is great. This is, it's like running against someone who's faster. That's going to make you faster. Maybe you'll never be as fast as Usain Bolt, but you will definitely be faster than you are now.
Than you current.
Yeah.
So you don't have to be a teacher to share the knowledge, whether a professional teacher. just share it because it's enjoyable. I enjoy a book 10 times more if I get to share it with people, with like-minded people. If my readings were strictly for me and I have zero chance to talk about these books later with people, I think my enjoyment will be 10 times less.
Well, yeah, enjoyment, happiness, enthusiasm.
Yeah.
This is like a fuel, you know, this is a fuel. And if you aren't finding the enjoyment, the happiness, the enthusiasm in the process, I would say go back to the beginning of your process and like reconstruct it. So that way you do, because you can't get around this.
No.
You cannot get around learning. You can't get around interacting with people. You can't get around what's happening, I would say, in our world as a social animal, but also as what's happening in the world right now with AI or whatever, whatever innovations in the world, you have to grow and adapt. And I think it was Darwin who said it's not the strongest or the smartest, it's the most adaptable who survive. And so find a way to love whatever it is, even if it's like, you know, I've hated reading all my life, but I'm going to be open to it. But you know what I do? I love hanging around you. Find a way in. Just, you know, whatever way in that you can get, find a way in, and then anchor that to whatever the thing is, you know. And if it's if you have an enthusiastic way about it, you don't have to be a professional teacher. You'll just be enthralled anyway. And, you know, I mean, there are many examples of this throughout human history. Oral traditions, oral histories, oral society. We learn through telling each other great stories. Yeah.
Man, we've covered so much and we haven't yet gotten to AI, which what we're here to discuss today.
Yes.
But this is a testament to how much I enjoy talking to you. And every time we're having
Likewise.
coffee in our neighborhood, we always said that, you know, I can talk to you for hours. And we should do this on camera. And here we are. We're doing it on camera.
Yeah, thank you.
No, thank you for coming and sharing with my audience. We're going to take a quick break.
Okay.
And then we're going to resume after the break talking about how to apply all this, you know, learning and meta learning in the age of AI.
Yeah, so important.
So important. Okay, let's talk about all of this rapid learning, meta learning in the context of now. We are now at the dawn of the AI age.
Yes.
And this is creating a lot of questions about learning, whether we still need to learn, whether we still need to send our kids to college to learn.
Sure.
It's creating questions about upskilling in career context and job context.
Yeah.
And one of the triggers of this conversation is you mentioned a fascinating statistic once, and you said that people are testing now lower on cognitive ability. And you set up the stage beautifully as the gap between cognitive abilities and between this amazing and fabulous new tool that is AI, and how can we navigate this gap. So I will let you set the stage because you describe it much more eloquently than I can.
Thank you. Dr. Jared Hovarth spoke before Congress earlier this year and unpacked, I would say, predictable but disturbing finding. I would say this is in the US, but I would say it's probably indicative of around the world that this generation, compared to its previous generation, which is how this has been measured since it's been measured, cognitive ability on all levels of measurement, are performing worse than the previous generation.
Wow.
And there's a reason why. And there's been a lot of studies, a lot of literature that's come out. Jonathan Haidt has written a couple of books on this, The Coddling of the American Mind, The Anxious Generation. Dr. Hovarth has his own book on this. The digital delusion. So there are these contributing factors as to why the cognitive function is lower, but it is lower. Measurably across the board for this generation, worse, poor performing, worse than the previous generation.
And for the first time ever.
First time in the history.
Usually it was always a progress.
Always progress.
Okay.
So now we've gone back for the first time in human history, which is to say since we've been measuring it. Yeah, which is disturbing. and at a time where we needed to be the other way around. Yeah, because of AI. And so I can see kind of segueing into the concerns, the fears, like a lot of fear around this, right? Like, what am I going to do with my job? What am I going to do with this? What, is college because it's so expensive anymore? What am I going to do with this degree that is essentially the price of a house, a mortgage in the United States? These are all very real, important, and valid questions.
Yes.
And I think we've touched on some of the answers, but I think if I were to give a thesis here, I think that AI can be part of the answer here, and I think unfortunately, fearing it is not. It's a mistake.
Yes.
It's because it's not going to go anywhere. Number one, that's out of your control.
Yeah.
Like electricity, like the cell phone, like the automobile, you're not going to give it back. No one's.
We're not going to uninvent AI or electricity.
You can't unring this bell. It's here. Yeah. So how do you work with it? Again, going back to Darwin, how do you adapt to this second industrial revolution? Let's say. Yeah. How?
Let's answer that. So you said AI is part of the answer. First of all, tell me a little bit about the other parts, and then let's dive into the AI part of the answer.
Well, we're flesh and blood organisms. We have systems that are already working already.
Yeah.
Let's leverage those.
Yes.
Let's max those out, and then let's supplement like we do. I don't know. I keep using physical analogies, but you go to the gym, you work out. You need a supplement to recover faster, so that way you can get more workouts in, because that's where the actual building happens. Yeah, the tearing down the building. Same process with it. So you supplement with creatine, with amino acids, with L-glutamine, or whatever it is that you're going to supplement. Fish oils. Yeah, you take all of these things as supplements because in your daily diet you're not getting all of this. Yeah, okay. Well, we'll do the same thing. I would say AI could be a great supplement. Learn how to really critically think. Learn Bloom's taxonomy of thinking and learning. Learn Maslow's needs. Learn all of these, let's say, foundational structures, so that way you can build your knowledge base. Yeah, because what's truly going to differentiate you is how fast you can learn. Can you connect with other people? Can you be more productive than the person next to you? And that is, yes, there's AI fluency that's built into that. And so that's why I say part of the answer. But if you're like a college student today, for example, who there was a study recently, I think it was last month, that GPAs are at an all-time high, 4.0s across the board, but then how come the SATs are the lowest scores that they've ever been? Well, it's because people are cheating with ChatGPT in school. Yeah. Well, okay, teach them how to use this as a didactic tool. Teach them the structure of writing. You could teach it faster now, faster than ever before. You could teach math faster than ever before. Yes. You could teach them how to use this, and the let's say the iterative process of drilling that we see in Scott Young's ultra learning. Drilling is a core component of our learning. We have to drill, especially the areas that we're, let's say, not good at. Harkening back to strength finders.
Yes.
Yeah. So drilling down the repetition, you can get more repetitions in with an AI.
I love it.
I think we were even talking about this the other day about a startup iteration.
Yes.
2 years.
Iterate.
Yeah, but you used to be
Don't
like 2
wait
years
until it's perfect.
Yeah, and it used to take 2 years because you didn't have this machine that could give you hundreds of iterations in an hour.
Yes.
You could do this in a week that would take you 2 years. So the drilling process has gotten faster. That's where you could supplement.
Yeah. How do you use this didactic body, or this learning body in your personal learning, in your personal reading? How do you use? Do you use ChatGPT? Do you use Claude? What tool do you use to increase your learning, to augment your learning?
Well, talking to you, I use many.
Yeah.
And hopefully soon I won't be.
Yes.
Plug to you. Yeah, yeah. Well, we should talk about that. That's super exciting.
Yeah.
So I use ChatGPT, Claude, and Gemini. And I do use the let's say the ultra learning, ultra productivity, ultra speaking frameworks.
Beautiful.
I use those across the board in all of those different frameworks. In all of those different tools. Whatever I need to learn, I don't care what I need to learn. If it is a business or a project or a particular kind of deal, or if I need to learn a skill, I will put it through this framework of ultra learning. Yeah. And I will stack that with atomic habits, because some of those skills need to go into permanent memory and become a habit. And What do I do?
I find sometimes that it can teach me new things quicker, but it can also help me retain by playing games, by quizzing me.
Yeah.
Like I was researching AI inferencing and LLM ops, and usually to conduct a research like this, it would take me hours or days. And now when I have AI, I can ask the exact questions to go and be researched and then iterate on them and then have exactly the final results that I want. And then I can ask for them after I read them to be converted into visual manners like charts or graphs. And then after I read all that, I ask Claude Code or Claude Cowork to build a quick app of flashcards and quiz me on some of this knowledge that I just did.
Yeah.
And it fascinates me how easier it is to learn today. And then I contrast this with people when I hear people complaining and saying, oh, AI will make everyone stupid. No, it depends how you use it. It's making me smarter every day.
Every
I've
day.
never learned so fast and so reliably
Yeah.
as since the invention of these tools.
And you need to still be the expert on what it's creating. You need to know that the information that it's giving you is true.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's not like that you can get away from reading the book.
Yes.
Read the book and write the paper. Just learn how to write a paper. It can
Yes.
help you craft let's say the right thesis. But you may go through a few iterations. Great. That's what you would do on your own. You're just going to do it faster. Then you write an outline. Then you write the first paragraph, and like you still go through the same process. It's just happening quicker, and you're working with. I refer to it if you're doing writing, for example. You're working with an amazing editor. You would like professors, experts of all kinds. They hire an editor. They pay them $500,000 an hour to work with them to edit their work. Well, you could do that now and does that make the expertise less? No. This thing has access. I think its IQ was measured at like 220 the last time I read it, and so no, that's an amazing kind of let's say sounding board.
Yes.
Yeah, that you can check. You can check against, and take it through a workflow, like you just said. Like go through a visual, go through a video. Like a Notebook LM will create a video for you. Watch a little video on it. Do the flashcards on it. All that, and then come back. Teach it to somebody that you
Yes.
can't get rid of.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so you need to leverage your
What did you call it? Didactic buddy? What do you call it?
didactic learning.
Didactic learning. Yeah. And so I also use analogies related to the physical world, like you did. I tell them when people ask me, will AI make us mentally lazy? I always use the analogy of we were always, every single human was fit when we were all working in the fields. And then when we started all working in offices and work became less physical and more intellectual, some of us became obese because we're exercising less. But not all of us, because many of us chose to keep creating a fake physical activity, which is the gym. We invented the treadmill to compensate for the fact that we don't go to the field now and we're not active. I guess everybody was fit during the agricultural age, but now they had zero obesity. And now there is obesity because some people don't exercise. But we invented fake or simulated physical activities by inventing the gym or the treadmills. And this applies to today. Now, we are living in an era where AI will take and can take some of this intellectual work out. So, some people will get mentally obese, and some will decide to invent a mental gym or a mental treadmill to keep their mental muscles, six packs.
And I think that's the key is like, what is your habit stack?
Yeah.
You know, who are you as a person is the sum of your habits. Yeah. And I think if you're disciplined, if you're consistent, if you have a high standard, if you value pushing your genetic potential, whether it's learning and growing or physically or both, all
Yes.
the above, then you're going to do that. And you're going to treat each tool as a tool to get better. Yeah.
Yes.
But if you are taking the path of least resistance, and as you said, you're intellectually lazy, you're physically lazy,
Yeah.
then yeah, you're going to use these tools and you're going to see these tools as that, rather than seeing these tools like you could see an automobile
Yeah.
as an amazing, luxurious ride, or you could look at it as like, oh my God, that is the some weapon that
Yeah.
can hurt people because I'm going to stick to my horse and buggy. You know, I think you could look at any kind of tool like this, but and I guess there's a certain amount of fear that happens with
Yeah.
something that's new. Yeah, because there's a lot of unknowns about it. You know,
Yeah.
whereas as opposed to now we've really, I say, desensitized everybody to the natural world.
Yes.
Because the same analogy, let's say we go back even further than agricultural age to hunter-gatherer,
Right.
you couldn't be obese. You would get
Couldn't.
caught and you'd be eaten by a lion or
Yeah.
something. Yeah, you just couldn't. So it was survival of the fittest, the Darwinian sense of it. But I think we're going to kind of get back to that a bit. You know, I think that you're going to see that AI is going to push competition.
Yes.
Yeah, I think you're going to see that it's going to supercharge and super enhance certain folks, and then other folks are going to say, "I don't choose to adopt right now." And from what I understand, there's a window. There's a
Yes.
window of time that you need to adopt to stay competitive. And if you
Yes.
don't, then you're probably going to be ranked in this kind of let's say central category of people who probably will get like a universal basic
It's a
income.
choice.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
a choice.
It is.
Yeah. For the first time in history, learning has never been that easy since
Yeah.
the invention of the library and the printing press.
Yeah.
It's everywhere. You can learn about anything in any language, in your own natural language. It doesn't matter whether the book was written in English, you can read it in Zulu or in Portuguese or in Mandarin or vice versa. Every book in the world, every document in the world is now at your fingertips. There's never been a better time to learn and to upskill and to augment your knowledge and your skills than today.
And if you have a system, and I think this is what like James Clear argues in Atomic Habits, he's like, goals give you your destination, but you achieve your goals based on the systems that you have.
Discipline.
Discipline. You need to have all these systems. There's another great book, Thinking in Systems. But when I was talking with you about something that you created recently, like the app, yeah, but you know that system. You know what that workflow looks like. Yeah, and if you learn these systems, be an expert at the system. Learn it once, then repeat it. You don't need to change the system if it's a great system. If you find a better system, great. Then upgrade your system and upskill to that better system. Wonderful. But get a great system in place. There's plenty of frameworks out there. Just get a system, and then you can use your AI tool that can help you achieve your goal with a process and a system. And you could just ask AI to like, okay, so I need a daily routine. It'll give you that. It'll plug everything. I need you to take James Clear's Atomic Habits and habit stack everything so I can have the most optimal day that in 30 days I need to lose 10 kg.
Yeah.
It'll give you that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you've given it the reference. And if you've read the book, you can verify if that's accurate or not. Yeah. And so do the heavy lifting.
Look, I think we both, anybody who's listening to us can tell that we both are proponents and we are clearly in the proponent camp of AI, AI for good, AI for augmentation, AI for empowerment. But we can't not address the fears. You mentioned the fears. So let's address them one by one. I will give you 3 different fears for 3 different personas, and I would like you to address them and propose the best course of action to alleviate these fears. Number 1, a parent who tells me, Alaa, during my days, we used to read a lot of books and internalize the information and figure things out. And now my 12-year-old is doing shortcuts through ChatGPT or these tools. Should I just block AI for kids? At which age should they be allowed these tools? And how can I know that they're learning with AI? They're not outsourcing their thinking and their understanding to AI. What do What do you answer to this fear?
It's a great question, and I would say I get this a lot from parents all over the world that I work with. I would say first thing is how is their school approaching learning? Because if they have screens in front of them all the time, and what is the goal of the teaching? That's what I would go in and I find out what the goal. I talked to a teacher recently who her emphasis was teaching to the emotional intelligence, and I was like, okay, that's great, but also at school I want you to teach to the intellectual, critical thinking, creative thinking as well. You need to do both if you're going to do one. I would rather, if I were a parent, I want you to focus on teaching them the skill set that they're going to need to solve problems. And then I would say we can also teach them emotional intelligence as well, but not to the exclusion of either or. So I would say make sure that you're invested in your child's learning, not just outcomes but process.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's number one. Number two, you may find that I don't like the school. You might have to put them in a different school, or you may have to homeschool. And for some people, that's possible based on their level of income and resources. And for some people, that's not. I'm a professor of nearly 20 years. If I were to have kids, I would totally homeschool them because I know that I'm a better teacher than most teachers out there, and also partially because I care so much, but I care so much to do the daily work, the weekly 2 books, no matter what. And so I would pour that into and create a framework for optimal learning conditions.
Yes.
Yeah. But I would also say you have to go back to, do they know those processes of, so when you say outsourcing my thinking,
Yes.
okay, well, do they know what it is that they're working on? Do they know how to read a book like we discussed? Do they know how to write a paper like how we discussed, from thesis all the way to finished product, full 10-page, whatever? Do they know how to put together an app? There are steps to things. There's an order of operation to things. You can't, I don't know, let's say you wanted to make scrambled eggs, you have to crack them first. There's an order of operation.
Yeah.
And so I would say they need to know what those steps are, and I would teach them the steps. So if you're concerned about your child outsourcing their brain or their thinking to AI, do they know the steps? So you could test that. That's very easy.
And there are positive examples out there.
Yeah.
Check out the video where Sal Khan, the founder of Khan Academy, is teaching his son trigonometry with the help of ChatGPT. The kid is working on an iPad, and the ChatGPT is activated and can see the screen where the kid has his trigonometry homework on it. And the prompt from the father was, I want you to nudge him in the right direction as you explain concepts, but never give him the answers. Go and watch this video. It's beautiful because it shows you the positive side of teaching kids with AI while making sure they're understanding. Because there's also an advantage of an AI personal tutor that human tutors don't have, which is infinite patience, the language barrier. You can speak to a child with any language, different learning modalities. Some kids learn better with visuals, other better with audio, other better with exercises, other better with numbers. And AI is personalizing, hyper personalizing the learning experience.
And I would say this is that, let's say, step in the ultra learning framework of drilling. I would say, teaching assistant, tutor, that's the drilling. We're cycling on the different, let's say, ways that we can review this information or repeat this information or drill this content. So I would say that's where it excels. I would say if we don't want to outsource our thinking, then don't outsource the teaching.
Yes.
Yeah. So I would say start with you as a human, because human to human, that's what we're designed to do.
Yeah.
The mirror neurons are not going to kick in unless there's another a human pair of eyeballs looking at us. That's not going to kick in, and we need that to have an empathetic response, and that helps dramatically increases teaching learning feedback loop.
Absolutely.
That's why we have teach to another group of people, because you're not going to teach it to the AI. So I would say start with the human, end with the human, do the drilling in the middle with the AI.
Yes.
Yeah.
Never replace the human. I don't want to be misunderstood.
No.
I'm never advocating for replacing the human teachers. I have personal affinity to teachers. Both my parents are teachers. I have a lot of friends who are teachers. So I don't think we will ever get rid of the human teachers because we are social animals
Yes.
and we learn better from other humans. We can now complement and
Exactly.
supplement the learning experience with
Exactly.
personalized, hyper-personalized tutoring with AI.
Exactly, especially with parents who are busy and career driven, like they don't have the actual availability in the day to be there for a 5 hour tutoring session, but the AI could.
Yes.
But I would say where the parent and the teacher can come into the picture is that they make sure that the steps are right.
Yes.
They make sure at the very end, let's have a conversation about it, because that's the real test. Can we discuss this? Can you apply this? That's the whole point of papers and presentations and stuff like this. Is that so when you go in front of a person, you can have what we're having right now, an exchange of.
So it's the human teacher and the AI teacher. It's not the human teacher or the AI teacher. It's not the AI replacing the humans.
Yeah.
And if you look at the flip side, teachers can also today, they have an access to a tremendous tool that will make the teaching experience much better. Instead of you going and if you're teaching chemistry, biochemistry, and you want to go and search for some diagrams or graphs or animations that illustrate what you're trying to teach. Now you can just speak it into existence. You don't have to code it yourself because you have a tool that you can explain to in English or whatever language you speak. Build me an animation that shows how molecules interact as you increase pressure or decrease temperature, and AI will create for you an animation, beautiful, easy, demonstrable in HTML, just like that. So now the teaching experience have completely become much, much more interesting and exciting and fun.
100%, but also teachers were being so maxed out. They were doing like 16-hour days to prep their lesson and all that. And now you can crunch that time and you can really just focus on the teaching. Have the AI create your lesson plans for the whole year. Follow this structure. And if you wanted to create exercises and all the different things that you needed to, you can do it in minutes. So that way now you can focus on the teaching. So now you don't have these exhausted teachers who are trying to come in and like fight the world and all the things. At least in the United States, that's what this was. But now you have this amazing tool. It could make you a better teacher. Yeah.
So let's address fear number 2, since we're talking about teachers, and let's go up to university teachers.
Yes.
I have a friend who is a university teacher, and she tells me, Alaa, I don't know what to do because I can't, if I give them essays to write or research papers to work on, and they come back and everybody has written a perfect research paper. And I know 100% that they've been written by ChatGPT. How can I grade them? What's your answer to this?
I would say you need to teach with, not you need to teach with AI as a tool. I remember when Scantrons, when I was a kid, were a big thing for multiple choice, which is, we found that that's like, a terrible way to measure retention of information.
Yes.
But when that came out, people were like very skeptical of that, but then it became a big thing. So I would say you integrate it into your teaching process. One, because isn't the point of school, especially higher education, to prepare them for the next stage in life, which is after school, to get into the real world? Well, guess what? The real world has adopted this like fire. This is everywhere. It's ubiquitous. And if you're like, oh, how do I grade that? You're missing the point. You're missing the absolute point of this. You're there to facilitate their growth into the next level of their development, which is to say, help them get jobs, be marketable in today's job market. Well, I would say here would be one thing that I would recommend to her. I would say ChatGPT, or let's say Claude, Gemini, whatever, amazing at solving problems. Ask it this problem, and then ask it to help you solve this. How do I create and I would say this should be a part of the process. How do I create a process that integrates AI and the papers I know are being written by you, AI tool, but how do I test their knowledge
Absolutely.
With this? And so my mind,
we should change the way we're testing, right?
We should never
or
use
grading.
And I mean, come on, if you're still doing multiple choice voiced, you're not a real teacher.
No.
If you're still doing papers only, how do I say this? You're going to be circumvented. The whole point is this right here.
Yes.
Human interaction.
Yes.
Your three meta skills. Learning how to learn, public speaking. Let's take public speaking, pull that one out right now. That is a meta skill. You need to teach them that. You need to get them up on their feet. You need to test the content. You want to see if they really know it? Have them teach it to the class.
Absolutely. That's what I told her. I told her, you know what? Why are we still grading blindly essays that they present? You know it's been written by ChatGPT or Claude. Here's how I would do it.
Yeah.
I would say, you know what, Brian? Go and do this research about the Stalingrad battle in World War II. I know you're going to use ChatGPT to do it. I encourage you because it's an excellent research and co-learning tool. But guess what? I'm not going to ask you to write an essay about it. Instead, once you acquire all this knowledge with your ChatGPT study buddy, I want you to come back here to the class and stand here and explain it to everyone and teach it to your classmates. And I want you to be the experts because they're gonna ask you questions and you're gonna answer all these questions.
I'd make it a requirement.
Yeah.
I'd say you need to use ChatGPT for this part of it. You need to use Claude for this part of it, and then you need to use Notebook LM to create your video and your note cards and your deck that you're gonna hand out to everybody before the class because we're gonna do a Q&A. I would say you're gonna use 3 different models and you're gonna show us. It'll be a 2-part. You're gonna present the information, and then the following day you're gonna show us how you used it.
Yeah.
You're gonna walk us through. So everybody's gonna see. Oh, that's how Brian. Oh, that's how Susie. Oh, that's how Alaa used it to create the video. But I didn't even consider that little technique.
Yes.
I didn't consider. Like, you should integrate it, and then it becomes truly didactic. Yeah.
Or take this book. Write me a book report. I know you will ask ChatGPT to write the book report for you. Let ChatGPT write the book report for you and Claude. And then when you come to class the next day, I want you to present the book report written by ChatGPT, and I want you to critique it. I want you to critique every argument that ChatGPT made, and I want you to present the best counter arguments for it. Okay?
Yeah.
Let's teach them critical thinking. Let's teach them how to learn.
Let's also teach them how to use their memory.
Yes.
You know, like, okay, you want to memorize random facts. We can take a multiple choice. No. Do the book. Read the book. Then write let's say the report, the paper, then create the presentation, and then create a script.
Yeah.
And then this particular, let's say, exercise or assignment, you're going to be word for word memorized like a TED Talk. You're going to give you a TED Talk on, it started with a book, you had to read the book, you had to write the thing, you had to create the deck, you had to deliver your note cards to everybody before, and then you had to write the script using whatever, Claude. Yeah. And then now I need you to memorize it.
Brilliant.
And you're going to come in. And now you're really creating didactic learning. So, like, parents who are afraid of it or say, oh, you're outsourcing your knowledge, like, you just don't get it. You don't realize the world that you're living in. And unfortunately, you are on the other side of this curve. And, how do I say, they have a longer lifespan than you do at this point, and you really need to prepare them.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the whole point.
I love how every answer that you and I have for any potential threat and problem is always comes down to learn. Learn, upskill.
Yeah, you
Get better at learning, get better at skilling.
And some people say, I hate learning. I would say, learn how to love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So figure out
And learn
a way.
something you love. A topic you love, a topic you're interested in.
Or go into something that you love to do, but you're going to learn, even if it's passively throughout your life. Like, maybe you didn't sign up to be a driver, like we use our various drivers here. Yeah. But, at some point you had to learn how to drive a car, and maybe, maybe you want to start a business. Maybe you have no idea what goes into starting a business. Well, you're going to learn whether you want to or not. And I would say success but pain are great motivators.
Absolutely.
So I would say maybe for everybody who is resisting this, parents, students, teachers alike, I would say everybody go take a strength finder test. Go take your own strength finder test. See as a parent where you rank with your strengths and weaknesses. You see where your student ranks with their strengths and weaknesses. Teachers, where you rank with your strengths and weaknesses. And I would say, look at your areas of improvement, the weaknesses, as it were, and focus on them. and really bolster them. Take 90 days. Just take 90 days, challenge yourself like a diet.
Yeah.
You know, like a workout plan.
I love
Challenge
the
yourself.
positivity. I love the motivation. I
Yeah.
love that can-do attitude.
Because you can. Because
you
someone
can.
has had this problem in human history, haven't they?
Absolutely.
I
Now,
figured
this is the time in the interview where we bring out Layla and we ask her to meet our guest. Hey, Layla.
Hey, Alaa. What's on your mind today? I'm all ears and circuits, of course.
So we're recording another episode of my podcast, AI with Alaa. And today I'm talking to Jeremiah O'Brien. So I wanted to say hi to Jeremiah.
Absolutely. Jeremiah, if you're listening, welcome to the show. I'm sure you and Alaa are about to dive into some AI wizardry and spicy insights. Let's make it a blast.
Actually, we're calling up on you at the end of the podcast. So we've already finished diving. We're resurfacing now.
So I'm the grand finale, huh? In that case, I'll have a smart question ready to make sure we end on a high note.
Go ahead.
All right. Ask away or let me know what clever angle you'd like me to take.
No, I want you to pick a question to ask Jeremiah based on what you've learned about him and researched.
Gotcha. So, how about this? Jeremiah, given your journey, what's one overlooked skill you think people should focus on if they want to thrive in the AI-powered future? That should spark some wisdom.
Other than what we've talked about already? An overlooked skill now, in the age of AI, yeah? And we've talked about the 3 meta skills: learning how to learn, public speaking, and productivity. I would say I created another course using this framework to teach sales. I would say sales is the skill to have. It connects you to people. It requires you to be a great storyteller, a great listener. It'll challenge you to develop everything that you need to interact with a person. You could use the AI to supplement, but at the end of the day, you go in, it's you on the line, you have to interface, but it's also a way that you can make a hell of a living.
Brilliant. And it's goal-oriented. You always preach, be goal-oriented.
Yeah.
What do you think of this answer, Layla?
Honestly, Alaa, that was a gem. He just handed us a golden nugget. Sales is like the Swiss Army knife skill. I think we just got a bonus course idea.
We're not gonna steal his courses.
I'll give you my course.
Okay, let's do the reverse one. Jeremiah, what question do you have for Layla?
Layla, Alaa and I, we were talking about teachers who are a bit stuck in their current way of teaching, fearful of being circumvented by AI. For example, students writing papers using AI. What process would you recommend to, let's say, high school teachers, college professors, undergraduates, graduates, to create a process that they know that they're going to be using AI, but to let's say integrate AI, but also leverage the human skills. So combining them both together so that way you get to learn both, but you're also really creating a didactic learning process for the student.
Jeremiah, I love that. I'd say have them lean into AI as a tool for collaboration. Let students draft with AI, but then focus on refining, critiquing, and deep diving into the why of their ideas. That way, teachers guide critical thinking while AI assists with the grunt work. Best of both worlds.
There you go.
There you go.
Thank you, Layla. And thank you, Jeremiah.
Oh, well, thank you.
I know you have usually a lot of activities to do on a Sunday, and you chose to spend 2 hours
What are you talking
with
about?
us.
I love this.
I always enjoy spending time with you. I always enjoy picking your mind. You're one of the most interesting people to talk to, and I think we should do this more and more.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
My
It was
pleasure.
a pleasure.